I think the definition of greatness is to inspire the people next to you. It's not something that lives and dies with one person. It's how can you inspire a person to then in turn inspire another person that then inspires another person. And that's how you create something that I think lasts forever. And I think that's our challenge as people, is to figure out how our story can impact others and motivate them in a way to create their own greatness.
Welcome to the Welcome to the 3-on-3 podcast. That's right. You're tuned in to the number one basketball podcast in the universe. Thank you for joining us. I am here with my guys, Evan Butler Sands, Lou over here, back with us, and the Pod Mamba is in the background coaching us, making sure that we continue to be that number one basketball podcast. Today, we have a great lineup for you today. We have some breaking news with an injury report on the Bucks superstar. We will also be talking about some issues with Miami. Might get a little spicy. You know, we're here for that. We have everything for you guys today. Also, we're going to be talking about the Wild Wild West, man. The race is tight out there. It's getting crazy. And last but not least, you know what time of year it is. It's March Madness. We'll get into that as well. But let's start off with breaking news. Damian Lillard, y'all. Yeah, I know I have a special affinity in place for the Blazer superstar. Damian Lillard is out indefinitely with blood clots, a deep vein thrombosis. So he is on medication. This is per Shams. He is on medication for blood thinners, for blood thinning, and he is out indefinitely. We're speculating that he's gone for the rest of the season, given that the playoffs are right around the corner. And if we're looking at previous stars, Victor Wembanyama, who had blood clots issues, he's out the rest of the season. Just want to wax over this real quickly. Gentlemen, any of you guys can jump in whenever you want. What do you feel about this, and what does this mean for the Bucks?
Whenever you hear blood clot, it's definitely scary. You know, like you said, we dealt with it with Wemby already this season, and now with Dame. Bigger than basketball, you just hope that from a health standpoint that he's able to make a full recovery. You wish him the best, and hope for him to get well soon.
Yeah, very much so on this side too. You know, we've seen it with Wemby. Another player has it. We're not sure if this is going to be something that we see as a continual trend. Hopefully not. But yeah, hoping that Dame gets better soon. And, you know, look, like Evan says, bigger than basketball. So hopefully he'll be back to be able to get back for playoff time.
Definitely echo those sentiments, guys. Don't know what's going on in the NBA with these blood clots. Two big players. I don't think we've seen two huge players go out with this type of injury before. But like you guys said, man, this is life threatening. At the end of the day, these guys are gentlemen, fathers, you know, brothers, sons who all have families that care about them. So wishing both of them, Wemby and Dame, speedy recovery and that they come back in tip-top shape next season. For the Bucks, this is a bad shake, man. You know, they just can't catch a break. We'll see what happens to them in the playoffs. We'll get into that later on. But guys, let's get into this messiness with the Heat right now, man. They just broke their 10-game losing streak since the Jimmy Butler trade. They've just been, you know, trying to figure it out. Now, in all fairness, they did acquire Wiggins in this trade, and he was out for, I believe, 9 of those 10 games as well, too. So
Hans, stop it. Wiggins.
Listen, man.
Wiggins.
He matters. He matters, man.
You talking about from Jimmy to Wiggins? All right, yeah.
He matters, man. That's an NBA champion, Lou. Okay.
You're right. Maybe
That's
instead of 10, they would have lost 9. You're right.
How dare you besmirch the name of Andrew Wiggins? But yeah, it's still, man, I think it's notable. As we're recording, they're facing off against the Warriors, and you know the big hoopla with that. Jimmy back in Miami, him getting booed. But they're without Steph Curry, and it's not looking good. The Heat have pounced on the Warriors, and I think it's safe for us to say that this is going to be a wrap. The Heat are going to win this game decisively. And Wiggins is playing in that game, Lou. I'm just throwing it out there, bro. I'm just throwing that out there. But
my bad.
Needless to say, though,
42 against the
Wig.
Hornets over the weekend.
I'm just saying, hey, y'all put some respect on Wig's names, okay? This is gonna be the Wig segment, right? Wig's appreciation segment. But nonetheless, man,
Yeah, man. Focus on this loving basketball in Miami.
I'm sick of y'all. Does this whole Heat fiasco put a dent in Heat culture? Heat culture has been solid, and compared to other strong organizations that have a positive culture, San Antonio is one that comes to mind. Does this whole fiasco with them lately uh, put a chink in their armor?
I mean, yeah, let's be real. Like, the trade was not in the favor of the Heat at all, right? They were just kind of trying to make the best of whatever situation they had. They knew their superstar wanted to leave, whatever. They made a last ditch effort. Warriors have been what, 16-4 since Jimmy's got there.
Yeah.
The Heat have been 17-21. Okay, cool. They'll win this game and add another. Oh, they'll be 18 and 20 in the last of 22. This is lopsided, man. I know we talk about the trade with AD and Luka and how blockbuster, how breaking it was, but AD came back in recently, even with Kyrie being out, and they won their last game. But now to see clearly how lopsided it is and how the Heat are reeling. Hans, I remember you and I, we went back and forth vehemently, right, about whose stock was going to plummet. And we're seeing, like I said, man, the Heat stock is plummeting significantly to the point now you start looking at, all right, what's going on? Do we look at coaching? Do we look at management? Or is it just our personnel? And clearly your personnel took a hit. And Jimmy has rightfully so shown how valuable of a player he was and how integral he was into what this Heat culture meant, bringing them as far as he did year over year. So, yeah, Heat, man, reap what you sow.
I'm going to start off with some necessary caveats, okay? I love the city of Miami. Shout out to my wife who is from Miami.
Come on, man.
Great family
Come on now.
in Miami. Excellent food in Miami. Shout out to Haitian cuisine.
Yes,
Shout out to the Zells.
Couple spots I could tell you about if you want to hit me in the YouTube chat. Beautiful weather. And then shout out to the Miami Hurricanes, my favorite college football
Here
team.
he goes.
But with all that said, I hate the Miami Heat. I cannot stand the Miami Heat, and so I am totally here for any discussion that we want to have on the Miami Heat's demise. We can spend 5, 10, maybe an hour on it if you want to.
Oh, wow, he's here. He's here.
I've
He's here
just-
for
You
the
sound
chaos.
like Christian talking about the Clippers. Yeah, this is crazy.
I've dressed appropriately for this discussion. So
wow.
when you talk about the Miami Heat this season, I think just the Jimmy Butler trade was a culmination of what I would say the end of the road of an overachieving franchise. You have a 5-year run where they made it to the
You've been
NBA
calling them
Finals.
overachievers for so long.
Well, I mean, no, I give the Heat credit for achieving beyond what their roster build-up should have achieved, especially in the East. But the truth of the matter is, y'all should see the looks I'm getting right now. The truth of the matter is, they're a team that has fallen completely out of any semblance of contention. You couple it with the nice run the Bulls have been on lately, and they've fallen all the way to 10th in the East. They're setting themselves up for a demolition by the Cavaliers at best here in the playoffs. That's if they make it out of the play-in. And it's because their roster construction at this point just doesn't work. Now I know y'all are waiting on me to get into the juicy topics and whatnot, and I'm gonna let Hans cue that one up. But what I will toss out to you though is that they got rid of Jimmy. Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero are never going to be enough for this team to get back to the levels that they
It's because it's
previously
Andrew
were at.
Wiggins, as Han said. Come on, Andrew Wiggins.
I think they got
Listen,
what they could out
man.
of the trade. They got what
Listen,
they could out of
man.
that trade.
All I'm saying is I was trying to give them a little credit for this losing streak that they did not have a vital piece. That's all I'm saying, man. I'm not out here a Wiggs fan. I'm not. I've been very critical of him. He's sleepy, no effort. But I will say this though. Before we move on to our last thing about the Heat culture and what's going on down there in Miami, I'm gonna push back again. One thing about what F said. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong. During any of those finals runs recently with the Heat, they weren't the team in the East people were looking like at contenders. The last two final runs were surprising. Just like F said, they were overachieving. I don't think they were the favorites to make it last time or the time before. So I think that's what added to the lore of the Heat culture. The fact that they got this far when nobody expected them to get this far. And although Jimmy is a great player, et cetera, people don't put him up to the likes of a LeBron, a KD, players you expect to single-handedly lead you to the promised land. He's always kind of been that B or whatever letter number you want to put to that second tier type of all-star. So I will say that I think that just added to the luster of the Heat, culture. But let's get down into it, man, because Miami has two sides. Ev knows this. We love the food. We love the weather. There's a lot of distractions and foolishness that happens in Miami. There's a lot of that happens in Miami. And it's kind of been reported in the rumor mills on Twitter, on the social media that, Jaime Jaquez may have had a little entanglement with Spo's ex-wife. And for me, it just can't. It's funny in the sense of, wow, Miami isn't impervious, right? The culture isn't impervious to the messiness. So that whole internet and fiasco going around, and I mean, I saw the post. His Spo's ex-wife literally is like every pick of Jaime Jaquez, but hey, those aren't dated. I don't know when. There's so much speculation that's in there. But nonetheless, though, it kind of points to some type of dysfunctioning that's happening and that the culture may not be intact like we think it is. So it has people wondering, hey, is this Pat's time? Do we need to revamp the culture? What's going on with Miami?
Hey man, if you revamp in terms of no Pat, I think Spo goes too. He's a direct extension of that Pat Riley tree, that Pat Riley ethos, lineage. So, if Pat goes, then you start really thinking about how do we clean house altogether. But if you didn't do that, what is the next step, right? What are you looking towards in terms of next? You can't tank. I mean, I guess they're in a good position, right? Because per NBA rules, if your team is at bottom tier, you can't sit your stars to end the season. So Miami's fine. So I think in terms of in general, yeah, if it's time for Pat to go, then I think all around, then you look at clean house and then start to decide what your identity is going to be, right? Kind of like how the Sixers have built their whole identity around this process. All right, now what does that mean for them, right, as they go into this next step? So Miami, now you start to look at the pieces that we have. What can we do with it? I mean, clearly they're a bottom tier team right now. Their stock is low. How do you even think about attracting another star to go there to potentially even build something? So there's a lot of questions that they have.
It's Miami.
Well,
It
you
pulls
say
itself.
it's
To have fun.
right?
It's Miami.
You say
Bradley
it's Miami,
Beal's
but
in
we have
Phoenix. Listen, man, living it up.
Hey, look, you know what? If they smart, go trade for Bradley Beal. He don't care.
You say it's Miami, but we've had this talk before. outside of LeBron in the past 15 years, who's the major star that they've really lured? Jimmy Butler became more than what we expected him to be in Miami. And and to stay on the Hawkins point for a moment before we get into the Heat legacy standpoint. One, you mentioned the pictures that the ex-wife likes. One thing about Jaime, I say you look through his Instagram, and like he definitely likes taking pictures of him. So
Oh, he's fashionable.
he's enjoying himself in
Heat
in the
culture.
in the Heat culture. Yes.
Heat culture.
But you look at his stats, though. You know, from a rookie year when he was integral part of the Heat's rotation, ruined the Knicks season by flagrant foul and Julius Randle. I won't forget that. But to go from there, he goes from 28 minutes a game to 21. Drops from double-digit points a game to single-digit points. His three-point shooting falls off the cliff. Particularly, he was trending upwards in January, but he's been almost like borderline out of the rotation since the All-Star break, especially since February. So definitely something turned his trajectory around sharply. It's easy. It's too easy, maybe reckless to tie the knot, one being the cause for the other. But when you see that type of change in production from a player in his second year that was an integral part of a team prior to that, to your point, it makes you wonder what is the impact that this is having on that Heat culture.
100%. 100%. I was trying to think of how much grace, I guess, should we give a major market team between, I guess, attracting superstars. But I guess that's a discussion for another time. Because I mean, before LeBron, they had Shaq, so I think that was a big attraction. Diesel.
That's a
Yeah,
trade, though. That's
yes,
a
they
trade.
traded. Yeah,
Right,
granted, yes, I know they drafted D-Wade.
but still, like Shaq wanted to go there. Like, you know,
I mean,
I
Shaq
guess,
wanted to get paid. I mean, since LeBron is just what I mean. You know, Shaq, that trade was early, 04, 05?
yeah.
You know, so I mean, we can get in that another day. It's just we say immediately, right? Heat, Miami, major market, but they've been the almost or the second or third place team in a lot of these big mega star races over the past 15 years. Their name's always in it, but who have they actually,
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know what though? That's
like
why I
Phoenix
think,
is nowhere near the same market. So like for Phoenix to land the big names that they have, right? Even realistically, Dallas is not even on paper as big as a market. But yeah, I
no,
mean, understanding
100%.
what we're saying.
Yeah. And I think with Miami culture, there's pluses and minuses that comes to that. Some players don't want to deal with that, with the restrictions that come with that. And, you know, we all know about their body fat rumors and things that come with that. And Pat's legacy is not squeaky clean. He can be hard. There's rumors of him being really abrasive and tough and micromanaging and things of that nature. So players talk, they let each other know. And, you know, I'll say this whole Miami culture thing is in question right now, especially with what happened with this 10-game losing streak. But they have the savior Andrew Wiggins. That's all I'm gonna end it. They have the savior Andrew Wiggins who's gonna come in
Yes,
and
Andrew Wiggins, you
take
got
them
it.
to the promised land, Lou. Yeah, I hear besmirching them. But yeah, no, I think the Miami will be an interesting team. I'm interested to see what they do and what they go on from here. Because at the end of the day, what they have right now on paper, I don't think is enough. It's not enough to get out the first round. It's enough to get into the playoffs, maybe, but I don't know if it's anywhere near enough to get out the first round of playoffs. All right, guys, let's move on to the Wild Wild West. West Side, we're moving over to the West Coast. Some say it's the best coast, disagree, but we're not here to discuss that. All right, guys, so the West Coast has a tight race. Literally, You have from the second seed all the way down to what, the eighth seed. They're separated by a couple games, 2, 3 games. Literally, the standings are always shifting night after night. Teams are jockeying for position. We don't know who's going to stay in what position, honestly. All we know is that number one is going to be OKC. And then it's a coin toss, in my opinion, 2 all the way down to 8. Let's talk about with about teams have about what, 10 or 12 games left? I think that's fair, right? With about 10 or 12,
Yeah.
yeah, with about 10 or 12 games left, guys, with teams that are jockeying for position, I want to throw out a couple teams that are catching steam. Although right now, as we're as we're presently recording, y'all, the West Coast seeds 2 through 9 have all losses right now, if not a couple. But despite what's happening right now as we're recording, there are some teams that are catching their stride right now. So I do want to point out some teams that I think are worth discussing that are catching their strides. And do we think that they're catching it right on time, or is it too little too late, et cetera, et cetera? One team I want to bring up, it's Pod Mamba's favorite team that he loves to root against. That would be the Los Angeles Clippers. They have, honestly, I'm not surprised, but I want to say I'm proud of James Harden for really leading this team. Norman Powell putting up all-star like numbers and was essentially a snub. I think a lot of people have been reporting that he should have been an all-star. I like to blame LeBron for that, for his last minute bowing out, and he could have possibly given that to Norman Powell, but I won't get on that soapbox. So he's out with injury. Kawhi has been playing consistently, averaging over 20 points or so in his last 4 or 5 games. What do you guys think about this Clippers? Now, I've been rooting for them for years, but I've learned my lesson in the last 2 years and said, you know what? I'm done. I've given up. I don't want to get into this fool's gold. And, there's like that toxic relationship, that ex that just keeps coming across your timeline, or, they come out
You
with
just
that
keep
glow
going
up
back.
real quick. Yeah,
You just keep going back. Keep going back.
but they're catching their stride nonetheless, man. They had a notable win against the Cavaliers. What are we seeing, man? Is this the right time for the Clippers to get hot?
I think what you're getting with the Clippers is above expectation play. And what I mean by that is we've had 4-5 straight years of having expectations about the Clippers, and they've found ways, no matter what the expectation has been, to disappoint. I think it's fitting that in 2020
Every time,
they were second in the West when COVID hit. Like, what would have been considered like one of the most successful seasons in the history of their franchise got altered by a world-altering incident, right? Like that's the Clippers' existence in a nutshell. No matter what, something's going to knock them off their pedestal. So when you look at the team this year, I mean, they were expected. I think their over/under was like in the 30s of games won this year, and so for them to even be to maintain in the playing race, we were all done with James Harden. We were done with Kawhi Leonard, and it actually looks like they made the right decision in them being done with Paul George. They continue to get it done with solid defense. You got to give the combination of Ty Lue and Jeff Van Gundy for being kind of their defensive coordinator / advisor credit for putting a team on the court that's prepared every single night. And yeah, you got to give it to James Harden. I mean, he was borderline all-star this year. He's won. The availability is something that has plagued that team forever. So for him to be on the court,
so about that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
most important thing is to be there.
Yep. And I'll give Kawhi this. You almost don't even want to say it out loud, but like he's been
so
quietly.
Don't do it.
I mean, you got to give it to him while you can, right? He's been quietly a pretty high percentage of himself these past 10, 20 games. So I think that's what you're seeing from the Clippers in a nutshell. Do I expect it to turn into anything in the playoffs? No, but I think they're a good story.
I mean, realistically, and the rest of their schedule is pretty decent. You know, they have very winnable games there where they can squeeze out a good 4 wins, right? So you playing the Nets, you playing the Magic, you're playing the Pelicans. I'm not going to say that you would necessarily win against the Kings, but the Kings, I mean, it's a game of contention. So you could squeeze out 4 more wins here, and with how tight the race is, put yourself in a position where you don't have to worry about the playing, right? Depending how the other teams slip. I mean, we've seen on the other side of LA 2 games that they were projected to win or probably should have won, especially knowing what the rest of their schedule is going to look like for the rest of the season. We were losing to the Bulls, and then afterwards, I'm blanking on who they lost to. I lost to subsequently after, to the Magic, like you lose to the Bulls and Magic, and now you have a team like the Clippers who are surging. Very well they could end up in that top 6 space.
Yeah, I think they're trending in the right time. Golden State was actually trending as well too, but now with this pelvic region injury that Steph has, that's what it's listed as. You know, that has people worrying about what Golden State's going to do. Are they going to slip into the playoffs? But I want to point out what F said, and I think that's the biggest change that they've had. As somebody who has been a fan of the Clippers for a few years and watched them a lot, the defensive identity, that's what it is. So the acquisition, like you said, of Jeff Van Gundy and them having an identity this year, they've been top 5 in defense throughout the whole season. So for me, I love that they found that identity on the defensive side, but I just wonder, is that going to be enough given what Ev has says? They just have a history of, it's the Clippers. It reminds me, honestly, are they the Hawks or the Atlanta of the West Coast? We guys knows how it is in the Atlanta sport market. It's like, yeah, they're doing great, but you know Atlanta's gonna Atlanta, right? More so with the Falcons and the Hawks. The Braves have definitely, breaking that out of that, especially with the World Series they won a couple years ago. But what I will say is this, man. I think when the Clippers are competitive, it really shakes things up. It really makes for good basketball. I like seeing James Harden kind of prove the naysayers wrong. I think there's a good story in that. As much as we criticize his style of play and argue about whose influence is greater, him or Steph Curry, to the game and to these kids and what they're really doing, we have to respect the work that he puts in. This man has come in and balled out consistently this year. He's been available. He's put this team on his back. He's the leader of this team. As much as we want to say Kawhi, is the one with championship pedigree, et cetera, is the superstar, that's James Harden's team that he's leading. And, he's
we don't want to
getting
say
them into
Kawhi's team.
contention. Huh?
We don't want to
So
say
you
it's
don't want to
Kawhi's
say
team.
you don't want to say it's Kawhi's
It's not
team.
like no, none of us here wanted to be like, oh yeah, but no, it's Kawhi's team. No, we didn't. None of us felt that way. No way.
Well, I'll say 2 things to that. One, too hard, and multiple current and former teammates have come out this season in interviews and have spoken to the work ethic of James Harden and debunked the perception that he's strictly a party person that goes out all the time. Multiple have come out and says nobody works harder in the gym. I mean, it's kind of a cliche statement, but the fact that they've come out and done so, I think is interesting.
I think Westbrook might say something different, but
well, no, I remember that. The other part, to the Kawhi part, I wonder if there was something to, you had Kawhi, you had Paul George, you had Harden, and I don't even want to put Westbrook in there, but I will. 4 alphas, so to speak, right? And the perception that they could just roll the ball out and play. Did that take away from the work that they were willing to put into sacrifice to be great for the team? Juxtaposed to this season, you've got a team full of journeymen and role players that are going to show up every night because they have to put forth their best effort to maintain themselves in the league. And now you have Kawhi surrounded by a group of hard workers versus a group of entitled max players. And now he's kind of got to fit in or fit out, right? Because the team is going to work their hardest with or without him. It makes it more to where you can't just show up like he used to. I wonder if there's any element of that to this season.
No, some positive peer pressure essentially is what you're saying.
Ooh,
So
I could have said that. Yeah.
yeah, I see that. I can see that. I mean, that's definitely something to tie into, holding them accountable. Like, bro, you got to get in or get out, bro. This ain't it. We trying to go somewhere and win. So I like that. I
Facts.
like that. The Clippers, man, they have a chance. Like Pod Mamba shared, they have the 14th easiest schedule. So they hardest. I'm sorry. So they have a chance.
That's middle of the pack as it gets.
Just win the games you're supposed to win, man, and you'll get there.
They have the 16th easiest schedule, Hans. All right, keep going.
Yeah, sorry. All right, so moving on to another hot team. Houston Rockets won 9 out of their 9-1, the last 10. They've catapulted back to the 2nd seed right now. This team has really yo-yoed, honestly. Can we say, compared to maybe the Lakers, they've yo-yoed the most in this past month? They went from 2 all the way down to 6?
They had dropped down to 5th or 6th, but
Yeah.
they were looking horrible in the process. And for
Yeah,
them
they
to
were
turn
looking
around,
bad. Like, we were like, what's happening? Like, what's happening? Like, now I know, was it Amen Thompson, right? He had an injury. Who else? Was there anybody else injured?
Van Vliet was out
Van
for a
Fleet.
while,
He was
and
out.
Yeah,
that's really
Van
what
Vliet.
triggered the losing streak.
Yep.
So, Lou, I know you're somebody who is a fan of Sangoon and who's watched Houston for closely a little bit. What are you seeing with Houston, man? How are you feeling about them being a 2nd seed? Is this something that you think they can hold on to?
Yeah. No, I mean, I did, from how we saw them play early in the season, I always believed there would be a top 4, even potentially a top 3 team coming out of the West, seeing what Ime's been able to do with them, especially as a team that is one of the top defense, top first, like in terms of defense, number 2 in defensive rating in the league, having really shown an identity. All their pieces being able to come back healthy with the right mix of veterans and new pieces. So veterans in Brooks and Van Vliet, man, and their young guys with. Well, look, you getting the best that you can. I've seen out of Jabari, Sengun being back healthy. So, and my man's, Dre, what the boy Dre used to babysit, and now is, her baby daddy that's, working to be able to pay for her lifestyle. So all I'm saying is, man, the team, no, all in all, like the team is very talented. The team has depth. They're a team that if you're coming out of the play-in and this is a team that you have to play in the first round, is going to be very difficult for you. So they mean a well-rounded, well-put-together team with a hard nose on defense, and we know how crucial that is for the postseason, and also have a solid half-court game. So them surging at this time is the perfect time. I mean, in these last 9 games, they very much so could win at least 5 of these games, right? So you're playing a lot of bottom tier teams, right? So they should be able to ring off another 5 wins by the end of this season and be able to solidify themselves as a top 3 seed.
So I'm gonna throw this out there. It's selfish, but I would love to see a Houston OKC in the first round, though. I want to see it in the first round.
Well, I mean, that'd be tough.
The dramatics,
not impossible.
The dramatics, though, for that, because what I love about Houston is they're fearless. They're not scared of anybody. They don't care who you are, your legacy, if you're the Celtics, Lakers. They don't care. They're here to ball and ball only. And to me, teams with that mentality,
the new version of OKC.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
want to
Like they're
see
at
that.
the age where OKC was like 2-3 seasons ago, or that first season where they like, oh, whoa, they kind of broke out, and we
Mhm.
didn't expect them to do this. I want to say about 3 seasons ago. It's where Houston is now. You know what I mean? And having again this right mix of guys. I'm not gonna disagree with you. I'd be here for that series.
I
Okay,
want to see that
I'd be
first
here for
round
that
though,
series. No
because I
doubt.
think it'd be even more dramatic. Because nobody wants to lose the first round, right? And they both had great
Oh nah,
years.
not at
Like
all.
that. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
and they
here
got a
for
lot
it.
to prove. Like, okay, she's like, okay, you guys have been a top seeded team, right? A top 1-2 seed for so long now. Are you guys going to get over the hump? Are you guys a real
Mhm.
contender when it comes to the postseason? Houston, you have a redemption story, right? Especially with your coach, who also has a lot to prove, other than the fact that you youngins do. What you know what I mean? Yeah, now I'm here for that tension. I'm here for that tension.
Look at the culture that their coach is leading them. They're not afraid of anything. Their coach is not even afraid of having adultery with the owner's wife,
That was the owner's wife?
wasn't it?
No, I
I
think it
don't
was
know,
an
man. I knew it was
employee.
a
I don't
top
know.
exec.
Yeah, it was an
Top exec. It
exec.
was a top exec.
I don't think it was the
All I know is
owner.
that what you should have said is if somebody who is not afraid to lose knee alone, because wow,
Hey man, he lost everything. What
wow.
else he got to lose, man? Listen, he's out here. He's out here. All right, go ahead, Ev. You're about to say something. We be throwing Ev off, man. I
Uh,
apologize, Ev.
it's quite all right. It's quite all right.
I'm not
Nothing further
apologizing
to
for
add to that.
nothing.
But what I will say is, for the reason you all mentioned, the tension that you all mentioned, is why I want to see young team versus old teams
Oh,
all across the board in the West in the first round.
young
I want to
versus
see
old.
it young
Okay.
versus old. I want the Lakers up against a younger team. I want the Warriors up against a younger team. If the Clippers are in there, I want them up against a younger team. I want the Nuggets against a younger team. Basically, I want OKC, Houston, Memphis, and who am I missing? Maybe Minnesota up against older
All the older
versions.
teams.
Yeah,
Okay.
either old teams prevail or get out of here, right?
Oh,
And that way you get to the finals, and if we get to the Western Conference Finals, and you've got OKC, Houston, whatnot. Now we have something that's arrived. They pay their dues to get there. What I don't want is the younger teams to beat themselves up, and then we stuck with the same. We ended up somehow with Denver Golden State again because okay, OKC.
okay. See, Houston knocked themselves out.
Yeah. And so Pop Mama threw out a good question. Old teams or more experienced teams? What I mean is teams led by these 6 or 7 or younger year players versus teams led by these 10 or 12 or year older veterans. That's what I mean. That's my preference of what I'd like to see. But I mean, I think the West is going to be an amazing playoffs. However it shakes out. I want to throw a
Let me
team
ask.
out there with you. Go ahead.
Oh,
You
go ahead.
first. You
No, no, no,
first.
no. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Throw it out.
We've talked about Minnesota a bit this year, right? And we gave them credit the last week or so, whatnot. Why can't they get out the play in right now? Why can't they get above 6? I feel like they keep getting passed by the hot team of the week every week. We give Ant so much credit. Why are they still sucking the play in with this many games ago?
I'm gonna be honest.
Because the Lakers are amazing.
No, that. Anyway, the.
The Lakers are great. Such a great team.
All right.
AR 15.
Send the
AR
Zelle
13.
payment to to Pod Mamba over there. No, man. I wonder that too, and I kind of look back at it. I think when they streak, it's unfortunate. The teams on top of them are streaking as well too at the same time, so it doesn't afford them much time to move. So it's just unfortunate when they catch fire. The teams around them or up top are catching fire as well, and they're jockeying. So it doesn't leave them much room to make an adjustment. I think that they have figured it out. Julius Randle has found, hey, this is where I fit in. He's found his niche, his groove, and how to play with Ant. We've talked about it a couple episodes ago. Ant has kind of adjusted his volume, high 3-point shooting started to defer a little more, has kind of leveled out in his scoring. They're getting supporting playing from Naz Reid. Their defense is solid. It's solidified now because they were giving up a lot of points early on in the season as well, too, because they were just trying to outscore teams. So I think what it is just it's unfortunate when they're streaking, other teams are streaking as well, too. And they're just going to have to sit in this play. And it's kind of the situation where those early season games, as much as we hate it, and we want to say it doesn't matter or people want to, they matter
It
towards the end
does.
of the season.
That's
You
what we're
can't
talking
go
about,
on
man.
these
Win the
long,
games you're supposed to win.
yeah, you can't win. You can't lose. Honestly, if you're losing more than 5 in a row, like you're in trouble. You're in trouble. You really can't lose. If you look at teams that are really excelling, they don't lose really more than 3 or 4 in a row. And 3 and 4 is really stretching it. If you're a team that's contending for a playoff, like you can't go on those losing streaks in the season. That's gonna cost you. You're either gonna lose a matchup or you're gonna lose home court seating, or worse, you're gonna be in the play and fighting for your life. So that's my answer. I don't know what you're seeing, Lou, but I just think it's just unfortunate. And we'll move on shortly after.
I mean, you're saying something very much in line with my thoughts. It's like, yeah, you're doing great, but everybody else is doing great too. Winning the games that you're supposed to win is so crucial. There is some grace for this team because, with the trade, you still had to figure it out. Uh, Even as good as the Knicks have been doing as well, they still, the adjustments of figuring it out. But they happen to have more goods than bad. So
Yeah.
basically, all I'm saying is, the most important thing right now for Minnesota is to win out, basically to try to win out, to be able to kind of keep themselves, or even elevate themselves to play in contention, because doubt that they'll be able to do anything more than that unless everybody else above them implodes. But yeah, no, a lot of what was
Oh man.
being said already. It's just, everybody else is doing well at the same time, that they're doing well, and you didn't win the games that you were supposed to win. So now you're trying to climb out of that deficit.
Gotcha. Go ahead, F.
I was just gonna say this is becoming a weekly thing with you. We're just glad you're paying attention. Keep watching, all right? Keeping our numbers up.
It's funny how the Knicks made it in the West Coast segment. That was funny. S face. I was just laughing at S face, man. He's like, "How my Knicks get into this?" All right, y'all.
What you
Let's
mean?
let's move on, man. It's March Madness. It is March, an exciting month for basketball for all the right reasons. NCAA is firing women's and men's brackets are being formed. People are being devastated along. And as we talked, it's about a great time for basketball. NBA is getting ready to play off, and these collegiate teams are out here laying it down. I'm admittedly not one who keeps up with a lot of college. It's hard for me to watch, et cetera, la-di-da-di-da. But I am interested, though, to see you guys. There's a couple things happening in the college realm that I have been keeping up with. Juju, what's going on with her? Connecticut making a run. We got there's a couple going on. I'll lead with one I know who's kind of been paying attention with Ev. What's standing out to you so far, thus far, right now, as we're currently recording with the March Madness?
I just want to start off by saying I appreciate the professionalism with which my colleague brought in this segment. I'm going to keep it real with you all. If you want astute NCAA March Madness coverage, I'm sure there are ESPN podcasts you can catch at this time. Okay. This is not that what you are about to get. All right. This is three guys that watch the NBA that are going to try to talk to you about the NCAA. I'm gonna do it like this and get mad at me. Hans, how many games have you watched
Of March Madness?
Of March Madness.
I've watched 2. One of them being Duke. As you know, my wife works for Duke University, so been keeping.
Boo!
Oh wow! So I've watched two, admittedly.
So that's fair. You should root. You should root for Duke because your wife works for Duke. See, this is where I'm getting at. Okay, people act like this time of year that they are experts at college basketball. But none of these people ever win their NCAA tournament pools in their office. You know who wins it?
You want to say that's all that they're here for is for
Exactly.
the brackets. That's
Exactly.
all.
You know, the lady that doesn't watch a second of college basketball, all right, wins the pool every year.
Every
Okay.
single
Person
time.
that lets their dogs pick their pick.
Choosing teams because they like the colors.
Absolutely. That's the person that wins their pool every year. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick. My friend texted me for he texted me for some college basketball advice, and he was like, man, I'm so disappointed because I had St. John's going all the way and they lost in the second round. And I said, you didn't know anything about St. John's. All you knew is that you heard that Rick Pitino was coaching St. John's, and that's the only person that you were familiar with. And you picked St. John's to win. He was like, you know what? That's right.
Didn't Never heard of Calipari. Never heard of
That
Calipari.
that
Calipari
that
and the history that they have going way back.
that was the extent of his coverage. So I say all that to say we're gonna give you some college basketball takes right now. All right. But understand that if you haven't been watching, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up about it. That's all I wanted to say to get into it. Now, who am I paying attention to right now? I'll be honest. As a Carolina fan, I'm actually paying attention to Arizona. I'm loving the Caleb.
Mm,
I'm loving the Caleb Love redemption story. I hate that coming in as a heralded freshman that he was, that his stock dropped the level that he was, that he was in the undrafted ranks throughout his years with Carolina, even in helping us get to a championship game. But to see him having a strong tournament this year, uh, looking forward to seeing them up this week against Duke on Thursday with
yes,
the
sir. They
Arizona
face Duke
Wildcats. They do. So I'm
9:30.
hopeful. I'm hopeful that he has his blue shorts under his Arizona shirt.
His Carolina
As
shirts under his
you know,
Arizona.
absolutely, as they go up against Duke this week. But overall, in a way, kind of mediocre to see so much chalk out there right now. I think only one double-digit seed, Arkansas, has advanced to the Sweet 16. A lot of chalk or almost chalk all the way across the board. Of course, all four number ones advancing. So it's been there's been some exciting games, but it's been kind of a mediocre tournament as far as the excitement of getting some Cinderellas in there as a whole. But all in all, I'll still see who makes it out of this weekend. That's my take on it.
Okay.
Man, so shout out to the men's. But actually, as you're looking at that same Arizona, I'm pretty much on the Florida wave, man. I'm on the Gator bandwagon, man. I think Walter Clayton, man, he leads his team to the promised land. But that remains to be seen. I am actually more interested and been more excited about the women's tournament.
Let's talk about it.
Devastated to hear about Juju. I was watching the game. She went down in the first. Yeah, she goes
Yeah.
down in the first half. I'm like, no. I'm like, please don't let it be anything major. And then just by the way she winced when she went down, I'm like, this does not look good. And then for then it turned into her having a tournament-ending, season-ending injury with a torn ACL. So that was sad. Especially after the big jokes of her and Jaden Daniels on the jumbotron. And then for moments later,
You mean
moms to
his
sit in
mom
between.
blocking?
If you don't already know about
Jeez,
comments about the
man.
young kid. Yeah, yeah.
It be your own moms,
Anthony
man.
Davis level blocking. Like, yo, man.
It be
Word.
your
She
own
said, I'm not
moms,
letting
man.
my son get distracted by nothing. Madness. But no, it's sad to see Juju go this tournament, especially because there was a lot of hopes that you might see USC and UConn
Yes.
end up facing off with Sabrina I'm sorry, with Paige,
Paige Becker.
with it being her last season. So, but it'd have been super dope to see, them go head to head. But definitely, now that Juju's out, it's kind of up for grabs. I'm like, oh, is UConn gonna do it? Because UConn has been smacking teams about 30 plus, in the last 2 games. So, yeah, I'm really excited, interested to see how the rest of it plays out. I think Jaime Jaquez's sister still plays at UCLA, so looking forward to seeing how that. Maybe they'll rise up now that the USC is looking a little shaky. And of course, you have LSU and dear sister Dawn looking fly as hell on the South Carolina sideline. So it's a lot of great teams still in it. A lot of great matches to come. So in this round of 16 that's coming up, so I'm looking forward to it on the women's side.
Hans, let me step in real quick. Do you think it's Paige's last season at UConn? Because
my G, she's 23, bro. She's 23.
Hold on.
She got her COVID year.
But Fudd is coming back.
She got her
year.
eligibility. She only got the extra year. She only got her extra year eligibility because of the COVID year.
Right, but her and Fudd both came at the same time.
Fudd was also a redshirt, but Paige.
They both seniors though. They both
Fudd
played 4
also
years.
redshirted 1 year. No, but again, Paige has 1 year back because of eligibility because of COVID. And then Fudd redshirted a year, if I'm not mistaken. So she has 1 more year on top of the COVID eligibility.
All right, I'm just
that's
saying
the only reason why
because I mean the streets be saying
Paige is done.
The streets be saying if Fudd stays, Paige stays. That's all I'm saying.
That's what the streets are talking.
All I know is that would be 5. She's already in 5 years in school. I believe she's in grad school anyway, man. I believe this her last year of eligibility.
I think.
But hey, you the producer, man. Let me know, Kai.
I think what complicates that is when you're talking money, because we know with certainty that Paige is making more money at UConn than she's going to make in the WNBA. Maybe marketing makes up for it, but I mean she gets marketing opportunities even now. With that though, with what Caitlin Clark, and not to turn this into a WNBA discussion, but what Caitlin Clark is opening up in the WNBA from a marketing standpoint and an attention standpoint, there is that window that is wide open for a Paige Beckers to step into as the next name in the wave before Juju steps into it. Right. So if Paige ends up staying, she could, especially because she's been on the radar now, like you said, for 5 years. She does run a risk for missing her prime opportunity to step, into that prime spotlight.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, you don't want to tap it too dry. So, of course, get as much as you can while you're in it.
Well, we tapping dry?
But wow.
By the way, I saw confirmation that Paige said.
Miss a beat.
I saw confirmation right now that Paige said that this is her final year, that she's leaving.
Oh, breaking news!
Yeah,
breaking news.
She said it last game. I guess I missed that.
She's cooked. Yeah.
Our producer broke both sides of the news. Look at you.
Oh man,
that's what I get for not making sure.
Listen, all I know is, and this is my contribution to this, I need to be making a trip to North Carolina because Duke's #1 they're playing, and in the women's, it's UNC versus Duke. It's going to be live up there in North Carolina. I'm just saying, I need to make a trip. It's going to be litty up there. So, you guys come join me in the festivities as we celebrate.
Carolina Blue, baby. Carolina Blue, baby.
Basketball here. But I did want to point this out, and we can wax on this for a couple minutes before we end the show. One thing I did want to bring in this March Madness segment, we had this conversation actually off air, and I kind of wanted to bring it back on air a little bit, sneak peek on it, because we have a lot of good conversation off air that we should have on air, but that's another, it's another here or there kind of situation. With what's going on in the collegiate sports and how it's harder, in my opinion, it's easier to follow NBA and things of that nature. And we were talking about how, players are really just leaving the collegiate sport. They're getting their 1 year, they're going out, they're going to the NBA. Now you introduce the transfer portal. So teams are not even really being loyal to their schools like they used to be, right? And it started a conversation with me when I was saying that I watched the old North Carolina game. It was Jordan, Sam Perkins was on there, Kenny the Jet Smith was on there. All these future NBA stars all on the same team on the collegiate level, just balling out. And it's like, gone are those days. And I was wondering that, is there a change that needs to be done on the collegiate level to re-garner the fandom that was once had with these teams that would be there? Because gone are the day of the Fab Five. You get what I'm saying? Teams that are there for a couple of years that you're riding with. Is there a change that needs to be made this last minute or so, guys, in the collegiate season that will parlay into the WNBA or even the NBA?
Well, I think the WNBA already has it due to the restriction on how many years you have to be in college before you can become a pro. But in reference to the NBA, I'm really hoping, and I know I probably mentioned this before, that the NIL can start to change that, where because they're incentivized, right, overtly now. Pretty sure players on before, they were incentivized, but it was on the back end, which then caused trouble down the line. But for them to be able to have money that they can now benefit from being at the collegiate level, like for something in the conversation we just had about Paige, with the guys basketball team, with the NCAA. I think if that trend can continue and you get guys to be able to stay for 2 or 3 years, not because they're like, okay, well, this is my one shot to maybe let me try to have a solid freshman year and get my money as quickly as I can. Maybe I can stay a little bit longer. I know I'm still getting some money. And yet, if there are incentives in me being able to stay and us being able to stay and build something and win, and then making sure that we're down the line, we're kind of locked in what our NBA contracts will look like, just because they're just a better product. And I hope that then filters into the NBA and then makes the NBA a better product from there.
I think what one and dones have done have eroded the perception of a multi-year college player, and subsequently the training ground that college once was to prepare NCAA talent. That skill set has eroded as well. And so, yeah, until you fix that, in addition to some other factors, until you fix that, you're going to continue to have a depreciating college basketball product. I hope it gets back to the time where you had some name recognition with teams. You used to know the role players that were on college basketball teams, and sometimes those players ended up being players in the draft that you recognize. They went from role players to star players. That just doesn't happen in the same way anymore. And yeah, there's multiple layers, some that I mentioned, some that Lou just mentioned, that would need to be addressed in order to fix that.
Facts, guys. Just something I wanted to bring out. Well, guys, appreciate the conversation. We've come to the end of the road. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, please hit us up on our social media. Say hi to us. Check us out on YouTube and all the different platforms that we're on right now. Thank you for making us that #1 NBA podcast. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. Peace. Go Blazers.
What's up, guys? Thank you for listening to the 3on3 podcast. Please be sure to give the episode a thumbs up if you loved it. Hit that subscribe button, and last but not least, hit that bell, so that way you're notified every time we drop a new episode. Hit us up on our social media, guys. You can find us at the 3on3 podcast on IG and Twitter. If you want to give us any ideas or suggestions, shoot us an email at the 3on3podcast@gmail.com. We appreciate you. Thank you for tuning in. See you guys next time.